I think there's something really amazing about taking a long look at someone. I often joke that if I asked someone if I could come to their house and stare at them for an hour, they would say no. But that's kind of what happens when I make a portrait. I work very slowly. My camera is always on a tripod. I use all natural light. This requires a lot of collaboration between me and my subject. Yeah, can you do no socks? I also think it's really essential to allow the subject to present themselves. So I almost always use direct eye contact. There's a power in that gaze. The work that I am seeking hinges upon this moment when the subject and I are completely locked in and they are giving something of themselves to me. It's perfect. So your head back just yeah. Perfect. Do a couple more.
I, for most of my life, did not enjoy being photographed. I felt insecure about how my image was made and portrayed. When I met Jess, I began to see photographs in a very different way. We started early in our relationship making work together. It's helped me feel more accepting of myself. I have to say that I feel beautiful in Jess's photographs.
I want to live in a world where people can be themselves. It sounds so simple, but it's complicated. I try to create images that document people who are doing that, but that also function as validation and possibility for other people who are trying to figure out how to do that. When I came out as gay at the age of 13 and started questioning my gender and gender identity, there were not a lot of images in the media of people who looked like me. The first place that I discovered images that I could relate to was in fine art photography books. I believe very much in the power of storytelling, particularly when you have an identity that is marginalized. Something as simple as knowing that there are other people out there in the world who are like you can be a lifeline. I've been interested in issues around identity, issues around gender, issues around sexuality, but I've found that I swing back and forth between a very personal, highly subjective version of talking about that and a more outward-looking, documentary, politically motivated version of talking about that. I seek subjects who I'm drawn to on a very personal level. I see something in them that I either see in myself or want to see in myself. There is a questioning of gender and sexuality and a focus on the gray area. I'm particularly drawn to a gentler version of masculinity. Can masculinity be more nuanced and gentle and complicated than we usually give it credit for? Even though I'm photographing other people, it's also very much about my identity and the ways in which I have had to very consciously negotiate that identity. The ways in which I have come to be at home in a body and a gender presentation that is not something that we see as an option. I actually do want my work to function both as validation for the people within the community where I'm photographing, and also as education for people outside of the community. And I think in some ways that duality is present most in To Survive on This Shore. It's a 5-year project that I worked on in collaboration with my partner, Vanessa Fabbre, who is a social worker and researcher who focuses on the intersection of LGBTQ identity and aging. And it's a collection of portraits and interviews with people who are transgender or gender nonconforming and over the age of 50. And then it also has an advocacy piece. So we are partnering with several nonprofit organizations to use the work in training modules and educational campaigns and political campaigns to educate as much as possible about issues that older transgender people face. Our culture as a whole is so youth-focused. And I wanted to record the experience of people who came out in the 1970s, who advocated for trans rights that we have now. When your community and your history is not in the mainstream, it is at the risk of being lost. And I wanted to preserve that. We also really wanted to include stories of people all over, people in small towns, people in the middle of the country, and highlight some of those struggles, which is that there is a lack of access to community. There's a lack of access to adequate medical care.
Especially after doing interviews for this project, I realized how very real people's fears are about needing care as they age. There are many instances of people being abused in nursing homes or assisted living facilities, and that fear influences how trans older adults make decisions about their future.
We interviewed someone in New York named Jay who had been diagnosed with breast cancer, but his doctor actually never gave him the results because he was so transphobic. By the time I met Jay, he knew he was dying.
We asked him kind of our typical question about looking back on your life. How did you get here?
And he spoke for over an hour. He had such a strong sense of what he wanted to say and what he wanted recorded. And he knew that his image would live on in this project. When he was done, it was like this calm came over the room. And he said, "I'm done now. Let's stop recording." He knew what he wanted to leave behind.
I'm sorry to be leaving. I wish there was some way that I could give to young people today that sense of faith and hope that, you know, the right can come to pass.
I think that a lot of hatred and bigotry comes from a lack of understanding. I feel that it's really important for people to see photographs of people who are gender nonconforming, people who are queer, and to learn about their lives and to look at them with a sense of empathy. I want the viewer to think about this person as a husband or wife, or this person as a mother or father, or this person as a lover or a friend. I want to bring that individual specificity to the people that I'm photographing. Photography validated my identity and who I was. It allows me this vehicle to go to a place of a deeper meaning that I find it's hard to do sometimes outside of photography. And so I can't separate my photographs from my life. They're very intertwined. And I think that that will always be the case.